Kathi Ross Nash. So good to see you. Welcome to the Contrology Circle podcast. How are you?
Great. Great to see you as usual. I mean, the beautiful smile on your face. Always so amazing to be around you.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate the opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into the true legacy of Kathi Ross Nash. No pressure. So, for those of you, those that may be listening that do not know of your journey and your start in the Pilates world, in the Pilates community, can you give us a little bit of a sneak into your journey, into your background of how you started into Pilates?
Absolutely. So it actually began sooner than I realized it had begun. I, at the age of 13, 14, trained with Raul Jalbert. And Raul Jalbert, for the dancers that are in the building, he used to write the back of Pilates magazine, a dance magazine, and he was the forefather of kinesiology and dance. And I modeled for him, and I trained under him for several years when I was young. I used to do these floor exercises before we did ballet bar, and I did not know that they were rooted in the work of Joseph Pilates until much later on, where I was like, wait a second, I used to do that with Mr. Jalabert, and I started, they were mostly pre-Pilates or broken down
Sure.
exercises of Mr. Pilates' work, but they were Pilates. So then later on, I joined Ballet Hispanico. And my director, I struggled with my weight. I was hypermobile. I had been Russian trained in dance, so I made it happen. So she wanted to streamline my body. So she sent me and prevent me from getting injured. She brought me to Ramana, and she also introduced me and brought me to Kathy Grant. So Ramana really resonated with me. So my journey with her was the focus that I went into.
That's fantastic. And how many years it was a long time, and you were with her a long time too, right?
So the early 80s, it was somewhere around 82, 83 that I started with her. And it was 2006 when it was my last lesson that she was teaching. And at that time, she was not clear, but she
Understood.
still gave me my lesson. And so that's when she moved to Texas. And that was when my official time with her ended. I mean, I saw her post that at the event she did in Florida, but she was not very, good. And I went to visit her in Texas and sat in on a CP that she did at Cha-Cha's, but I didn't, it was only social that we were together after that point.
Yes. What's one of the things, I'm sure there are many things, but what's the one of the things that she taught you that still resonates with you today and you still find yourself like, oh, that's definitely from Ramana?
It's not going to be what everybody thinks. It is actually to have a balance in life.
That's fantastic. I love that.
I remember one time we were sitting, we used to go out for cocktails and lunch after my workout. And we were sitting and she was talking about this other person. And she's like, they have no life. Their whole life is Pilates. And I looked at her because I was like,
You're like,
hot kettle. But no, honestly, Pilates was not her life. Pilates
right.
was part of her life. She had her family, which she adored. She had the arts, which she adored. She had so many things. She loved food. She loved parties. She loved life. And so honestly, that out of everything, when I think of Ramana, I think of her that way and as a mentor more than when they go, oh, what did Ramana impart with you? Well, there was so much in the studio, but it was really what she gave to me in life. And I think that is why I stayed with her and was with her for so long, because she had such joy.
Yes.
She had such joy. Later on, that joy, some of it was lost when she started losing her memory. But the Ramana I know was just full of life. And that to me that's what Pilates is. It is life. It is to
Yes.
return you to life.
Love that. Yes. It's so true, isn't it?
Yeah, people go, oh, Pilates. I'm like, it's to make life great,
It is. And I think we are both of the school of thought that what you do on the mat and on the equipment, you take it into the real world and it only adds to your life. And I can attest that you are an amazing host. I've been privy to a few of your podcasts and or several, but always fantastic. And you include everybody. So that says so much about who you are as a person and as a host. But more importantly, who you are as a person, you are always looking to include people. So that's really, I mean, that speaks to your character.
Well, thank you, Dale. I just love,
True.
I love being surrounded by people having a good time. And,
Yes.
in a world, in a house that the door was always open. So my studio is the same way. I used to get very hurt because when I was, teaching for Ramana's program and for Ramana, rumors would go around that, you have to be classically trained to go to Kathi Ross Nash. And the opposite is true.
That's not, yes.
If you have a love for this work, for the work of Pilates and the depth of these labels, if you have a passion for it, my door is open.
100%. I've only known you to be that way. And again, it doesn't have to be classical, contemporary. If you are interested, if you are interested and you want to learn and you're willing to put in the hard work, because it's not easy work. Yes.
No. The only people I have problem if you're lazy and you want to take a shortcut.
No shortcut.
There's no shortcut in this work.
No, there isn't. And that's something, I mean, you can take the shortcut, but best believe it will return for you to do it again.
You know it.
Right. It's several years. Hopefully it's not several years, but often for people, we've both seen that, I think, in our practices, people that come from different backgrounds and the fundamentals are not there. And that is hard to relearn. Humbling, but it's very hard to relearn and to reteach that to somebody that didn't have that foundation.
Foundational skills. And this is where the red thread came in.
That was my next question. See, this is perfect. Go
ahead. Because, what people didn't realize is that as they were being taught, they were being pushed through at this rate to get through curriculum. And they weren't being trained for their bodies like we were trained for our bodies.
Yes.
So they would move through, and let's say they couldn't roll up through their spine. Then they get to the neck pull, and there's all these modifications and accommodations because the skill of correctly articulating with the legs weighted down had not been built.
Yes.
I looked at the way they were teaching the apparatus, all the apparatus, reformer included, and I said to myself, they're not telling them that this exercise at this level builds this skill for this exercise.
That's right.
And it's so, to those of us who are trained that way, it's very, very clear. And I also realized that they weren't progressing the work on the apparatus to build the skill. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm going to be working on my swan. And I need to get more opening of my upper back, increase skill. So now I've built all these skills. I go to lift my legs and lift my upper back in my swan with a long lumbar spine, long lumbar spine, not throwing into my back. I say to myself, okay, how am I going to build this skill? Well, if I go back to arm arcs on the barrel, on the small barrel, that is not a high enough expression. Therefore, it's not going to build the skill. I have to do an exercise, maybe like backward arms over the barrel, lowering and lifting my legs to have a skill that will build the actual challenge at the level that you need for the exercise. So I started breaking down the layering of the exercises with the knowledge, as we know, the mat is everything. We're always building the mat.
Always, yes.
So with, okay, here are my skills of my 100. the roll-up adds this skill and this skill. Then my leg circle adds this skill and this skill. My rollback, this skill and this skill. So if you build your tower like that, by the time you get to your advanced mat, all your skills are there for your body. No one's perfect.
Yes. No. Absolutely. But it's quantifiable change, and it's a building blocks to get us to the heart of the work.
Exactly. Something was amazing. I was at, oh my God, I'm having a blank. And I know it as well as I know my own name. It'll come back to me.
It'll come back to you in 2 seconds.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I was at the 95th birthday party of a very well-known teacher, and she was talking about how many years it took her, and she was a professional dancer, and she was, professional body, young. And she said that it was 6.5 years before Joe
Wow.
taught her all the 34 exercises. And she worked in the studio like we did. You went in and you worked on the apparatus, you built your skills, you kept working on those exercises until you were ready to add another one.
And it was a little bit more like a gift, like, okay, you've achieved this, now you can take the next exercise. And that's something that's missing from the work.
It is. And they're missing the juice of the exercises.
For sure.
They're not getting the benefits of the exercises. You can change a body with the first 7 exercises. We do it all the time.
Yes.
And that's the thing. This is not a performance. It is about realigning the body. And I'm tired of
feel free. I love it. Yes, we know.
I'm tired of seeing all these posts of people doing tricks when the work is not in the body. You look at it, you're like, okay, and listen, when I was young, guilty.
We all did it. Yes, we all did it.
But then, you watch people fall by the wayside and you realize that the work is about the journey through the exercises.
Yes.
And the purpose of the exercises. And that's how you get the benefit of the exercises, by doing it. You're prescribed,
As prescribed. Yes. And what do you do when you see somebody that comes in and you're in that difficult place where they believe that they know the exercise in the way that they've been taught, and you have to rein them back in to take them through, say, the fundamental work or the true essence of the work? How does that translate when you're with that person?
It's actually not as difficult as it seems. I'm very blessed that when people come to me at this point in my career, they really want to learn.
For sure.
And they trust me because they've seen people's bodies change with my training and my tutelage. And, at 61, they see what I can still do and, with everything that's gone on in my body. But so I'm blessed to have that they trust me. And so start with the 100. I look and I'll see if there's any skill missing. And inevitably there is, because right now, I don't see people getting their chin to their chest. They're not rolling up using the rib cage. So they're not articulating the rib cage. So they're back here doing it and it's hanging back in their neck and they're not building abdominal strength. So just that little up and over, when they find it and they get that skill, the light bulb goes off and then they're not worried. Then the low back is down. Then all the things, and they're not hanging in their hips because that skill lift that upper body up and in. And I still want to strangle the person who said shoulder blades on the mat, because nowhere does Joe Pilates say shoulder blades on the mat. It was chin up and in, the weight in the stomach, right? You could open your chest on top of that, bless you. But you even look at Return to Life, his shoulders are not.
That is a lead into that. Absolutely. So I was recently doing some of the exercises, just going through them. I said, let me see. And then I started studying them again. And I was like, okay, no. And it is a humbling experience. So even after we've been doing it as long as we have, you have to be able to humbly stand in the work and be like, what don't I know? What can I be doing better? How can I challenge? Right?
Always. I do it to
Yeah.
myself on a daily
Yes.
basis with the work.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's like, for instance, with leg circles, if you look at the way he teaches leg circles, it's the leg is over the hip, it twists, the hip twists, it
And
flattens,
then,
it twists, and it returns. It is the exact thing that the pelvis does in corkscrew.
right. Right. Yes.
And then where he begins from the bottom, crossing over the thigh to reverse.
Yes.
Because, protect the inner thigh. So when you look at that and then you thread it to the corkscrew and all the rotisserie, all the rotisserie chicken that was in my head, Kathy Graham, all those rotational exercises, you will see that is within them.
For sure.
And that positioning of the leg and the pelvis is in there. Now, with that said, Romana and Lolita and Kathy all taught to reach up to the nose, to the ear, to the shoulder, of course, and to stabilize their hip, because chances are, as dancers, they need
Dancers. Yes.
that. So,
Yes. Yes.
and there are exercises that thread to that variation. So
That's right.
when I'm building for my tree, sitting upright, I will definitely go to that variation when that's in my focal point. Anything where I have to have my back flat and really lift that leg up, right? Sit
Yeah.
up, and get a little more stretch, because just having it at the hip at that 90 degrees, when you go to sit, you need more lift of that lower back. You need
That's right.
stretch of the leg. So I understand why they went to where they went to and did what they did. And, whether Joe taught it that way to them or not, I don't know. I was told by them that he did, so I believe them, but it was also for their need in their
Body. And that is, I think that's where some of the work got lost.
Yes.
Is because it was being taught that way. And that's what I was told as well, that no, it wasn't taught that way. And so again, you have to go back and look at the direct source and take into consideration what we were taught, but then also what the understanding is of the exercise, and start there and then build out from it.
Right. I mean, if you even look at the way he teaches hip twist, it threads directly to the way he teaches the leg circle, right? And if you look at the way Romana and the predecessors taught it, they would teach, circle, but they would teach to lift up to the nose and up to the ear the same way that they leg circle.
That's right.
It may, and the way that they taught corkscrew compared to the way that he taught in Return to Life corkscrew. So to me, it's always, what skill am I building to move forward in the mat, as to what, and the reformer, and what variation I'm going to teach will thread to that exercise.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. You and I have had many late night conversations about many different exercises and apparatus.
Yes.
And the machines, the equipment. What is your least favorite? What is your favorite piece of equipment? It's so hard to say. I know.
You know what? I honestly don't have one, because I love the ones that challenge me.
Yes.
I adore the ones that take care of me. It depends on what my body's needing.
For that day.
Yours?
Pardon me?
What is yours?
Oof. Because mine's always been mat. I love mat and Cadillac Tower because I think of my height.
Right.
Chair, least favorite, obviously, because of my height. But that's why I know when I come to you, you'll probably be, guess what? We're doing chair. And I'll be like, oh, because I used to say that to Bob. I'd be like, oh, whatever you do, please don't, let's go over here. And he's like, okay, but we're going to start on chair. And I'm like, all right. Because but that is love, right? To force you to do the things that you might not be the strongest at, but those are the things that we need to make the system complete.
Right. Right.
And that's,
like Bob knew why into a piece of equipment. People willy-nilly go to apparatus for
over there. Yes.
I'm like, well, why did you choose that exercise on that piece of apparatus? What was your reason? And quite honestly, I get frustrated with people like, I want length in my hip. I'm like, you're not, this is exercise.
Right.
So length in my hip means nothing to me. It means nothing to me.
Right.
What skill were you trying to build? I was trying to be able to keep my pelvis flat while I lifted my leg. Oh,
Better. That's yes.
speak
Right
exercise.
there. That's it. That's it. And I think that is the work, the information that is missing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we got so caught up into anatomical terms and,
Oof.
right. And all of this body parts. And to Joe Pilates never,
Whole.
it's the
No. No.
it's not parts. When we talk body parts, hip, blah, 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 we are reductionistic.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you're speaking to this. Yes.
And Pilates is a system. And
Yes.
our body is pulleys and levers. If I look to the right, my whole body has now moved my eyes to the right.
Yes.
Not, this muscle, this muscle. No,
Track.
everything in
Everything.
eyes to the right and is affected by my eyes moving side to side. So
Yes.
when we start thinking of I'm working my feet, I'm working my arms, I'm working my legs, we are no longer doing Pilates.
That's right. When we've segmented it out, it's not that.
Teaching
Yes.
Pilates is a full body workout with full body engagement for every exercise.
Full body integration is something that is missing from the work.
And you see
yes.
it because when you see people move, it's like they'll move from, and I see this in dance now. They'll move from their legs or they'll move from their upper body. There's no connection between top and bottom, and when you press with your foot, that's how you lift out of your head. I mean, you can't move without moving from someplace.
No, and you have to be rooted. You have to be. And that's the whole thing with opposition. And to teach that, I've just recently started doing the standing archival work. And not a dancer, as you know, very humbling. I was like, why is this so hard for me? So it shows me where I'm going to be focusing on extra pieces of the equipment to get that work.
That's why we don't do it to lie down. We do stand up and move.
That's it. That's otherwise you're sleeping. Like I say, when people get on the mat, you've seen it. We've all seen it. They get there and they're like, this is so nice. And I'm like, well, we're about to destroy it for you. Let's get it going.
Enjoy your 3 breaths.
That's it. That's right. Because you're going. Let's go. But that's exactly it. And I think that's something that is missed, that it is a workout still.
It is a workout. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what level you're working. They're still moving. They're still, even if I'm building those skills of those first 7 exercises all over the studio at that, for the whatever that body needs, they're still moving the whole time.
Yes. Yes. And that's important. That's what they're there for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what do you think Joseph Pilates would be saying about how he is seeing his work today? It's a loaded question, I realize. Yes.
Yeah, because I didn't know him, so it's hard for me. I could tell, I could guess at Ramona because I know, I knew her so well. I mean, honestly, I don't know, because one, his ego would be so great that it's all happy that it's all over the place, but then you might look and go, I don't know what they're doing.
That's not what I said. Yes, yeah.
Boy, that telephone. But like, okay, so I write these books, the little white books.
Yes, wonderful. If anybody hasn't experienced them, they definitely should. And they can be bought on Amazon.
Yes.
Correct still? Yes.
But I bring them up because in the book, I go over how I do the exercise. And then I talk about how Ramona taught it. And John Steele talks about how, like in the Reformer, how Joe Pilates taught him. And Lolita talks about how she was taught. And then I have either Sarita or Blossom or talking about how they were taught. So that you see, and like there's many times where Lolita would say, Joe Pilates taught me like this, but I teach it like this because of
That's right.
because of my body needed this, because of, John will say, oh, that exercise was never taught to me. And it's an exercise that all of us have done and seen photos of Joe Pilates doing. And
yes,
but he wasn't taught that.
And that's fine too, right? That's his experience.
But that doesn't mean it for all of us. It does. For instance, years ago when I was training with Romana after I had Zoe, I did all these very difficult exercises. And I didn't learn some other exercises. I learned them by watching people train with Romana. And I go early in the morning and the stars were there. But when her clients were there and I would watch her, pat Mr. Glick or take the lady with the lady with the leopard pants that would be there, 3 times a week in the morning on the Cadillac and rubbing, watch those people, but then also watching Romana before, I would say in the 90s. I would say, Romana really towards the end of the 90s, beginning of 2000, there was a lot of, she was losing a lot of her memory, as we all do. But she would teach, before that, she would teach some students. And I remember one day I'm watching her and she was teaching the elephant with 1 foot front off of the mat. And I looked at her like, what? She goes, because you didn't need it. And then she had the person take it to the side and then to the back. And I'm like, oh, tendon stretch, the heel is down.
Yes. But how do you get there? There.
Curled in,
rounded
in, where they carried chin in, not this swing. But anyway. So, and I was like, oh, makes perfect sense. The person that she was working with needed this variation to be able to do an articulated roll-up.
That's it. Oh,
Push the heel, push the heel, push the heel. And I was like, wow. And like, I always teach that in my repertoire now when I'm teaching clients, because I really feel it teaches so many skills that's
great.
But people would look and they go, that's not from Joe. Well, maybe not. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but Romana taught it. But it was watching her teach all of these different people that gave me a breadth of this expansive knowledge.
Yes.
Because it wasn't just the exercises on the list. She was actually teaching people and their bodies for what they needed.
And I think that is something that, again, we don't speak enough about, right? Everybody gets in there and they're like, we're just in the system and we're doing it. And you're like, yeah, but it's wrong.
We're not doing
So how do you?
What?
Yes, it's not. That's it.
There's a system.
That's it.
And that's why I developed my training program, because I said these teachers, and training programs have gotten so good. They really have.
Yes, much better. They've gotten better in many ways. Yes,
they have. And I feel that the teacher of today is more elevated than a lot of the first teachers coming in that became gurus. But, when they first came in and they were elevated to teachers of teachers, I think that the people that are coming in now are more sophisticated. They have exposure to podcasts. They have exposure to online. They have exposure to see different teachers to see who resonates with them and who doesn't resonate with them much more quickly and easily than we did. I mean, it was tough getting.
For sure. You stuck within that method. And if you went out, you're excommunicated. No, I'm just
no. But that's also something. And so to me, that's also a double-edged sword. I always tell my students, find your person.
Yes.
Dana Santi once said this, so I totally stole it from her. Find your person. because they go from teacher to teacher to teacher to teacher, and they get there's so much information.
Yes.
And I'm not saying I'm right.
No, but
I'm teaching you what I know. I believe it to be correct. For instance, I was teaching rowing, and I, teach with the chest open, the shoulder blades together.
yes.
Chest open, right? Chest open, round down, roll forward, chest open, and rolling back, right? And to keep the shoulder down into the well with the hand,
Yep.
lift
Yep.
up, articulate the ribs, right? So this newer teacher said, oh, I was told by another master teacher. And I said, whoa, I'm not
Let's go back.
step back. I hate the word
Yes.
master. So never reference me as that. I am a teacher. That is the highest of accolades that anyone could bestow on you.
Yes, absolutely.
Master, that means you're under me and you're a slave. I don't know. I don't like that. It's really against me. So she said to me, well, this teacher, master teacher, taught to round the shoulders forward to protect the shoulder. And I looked at her and I said, I don't care.
Yeah, this is what we're doing.
But I don't care.
Right.
You want to train with that person, if you believe if that person makes sense to you, go train with that person.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Go train with that person.
That makes sense to you.
If that makes sense to you, go.
Yes.
But this also comes from a lot of these teachers that they train, and they don't teach clients.
Yes.
They become teachers of teachers, and they think that teaching teachers is teaching clients. No, it's not.
Complete opposite. Complete opposite. Yes.
You want to become a bad teacher? Just train teachers when you start teaching.
Only teach teachers.
Seriously.
You're not learning.
No. I mean, I learned from people like, how did you know to do that? I said, well, because I taught in a studio day in, day out for decades.
Yes. And that is how you learn. And that is like, it's just every day, knowing what you don't know. And even at times where you thought you knew it all, you still didn't.
Exactly.
But this is it. And that's one thing even Lawrence had said to me, when you're out in the real world, it's always an opportunity to teach your own eye, because that is how you train yourself, by looking around and seeing how people are out in the real world. More importantly, you have to teach real people.
Of course.
That is how you learn, and that is how your eye is trained. And it's not people that come in before you even tell them footwork they're already on to. They've done all their footwork. That's not teaching.
No, and I tell all of my teachers that come through my program that you do not, and it's very easy to get seduced into the Instagram world and the TikTok world and the world of instant fame. There's so many incredible teachers that have never even been on. I mean, look at how long it took social media. I had to beg you. I'm like, please.
I was like, I can't take it.
Let them hear you. No, seriously, and you have these big companies that have big marketing budgets. And this year we're going to focus on the classical. This year, at the same time, we're going to have a scooter that's going to do Pilates. And, you have all this money that goes behind it, and they're selling a product. They're not teaching the work.
And that's it. That's exactly it. That is the missing component. There's showy, and doing, and really doing. And there has to be that period where you are the student. You should be a student every day. I think.
Yes, sir. Go.
No, you should. That was my point. You should be a student every day. We should always be trying to learn.
You should always be trying to learn. I agree.
Yeah.
My daughter is a psychologist.
Yes.
And we were talking today, and she said, I feel like today's society and much like in your industry, people, it's called, they lob a ball back and forth in conversation. And I said, well, explain. She said, well, if I say to you, I'm taking a walk today, it's a beautiful day, it makes me feel good. And you say to me, I'm going to work out today, it's going to make me feel good. You have not absorbed what I was right. And she said, the work is that way. You will teach them. You'll teach something. Let's say, I was talking about with side bending, how, everybody tries to anchor the opposite side, but if you anchor the side you're bending to, you get length on both sides.
I love that. That is so great. Yes. Yes.
So she said, what people will do is they will regurgitate it. They will not absorb it.
That's
So
right.
they say it, but they will not take the time to integrate it into themselves before they start spewing it like it was their, like they found it, they figured out, like it was
experience. That's right. Right.
And she said to me, I see this in your work and in her work. And I said, yes, that's true. I said, you're always caught between a rock and a hard place because you want to share the information because I don't want my 40 years of teaching clients in the studio
to
be gone in my
by the wayside
years. Right.
No.
I want to give that information to the students of today so it doesn't die. But at the same time, I'm like, well, am I doing them a disservice because they're not going through the path? They're not suffering through it.
Right. They're suffering. There's suffering.
Oh, they're suffering to be had. Right. But that said, I do have a handful of amazing teachers that really are integrating the work, really integrating. I'm like, okay, this is worth it. For those that there's going to be 100 that will regurgitate, for 10 that will
absorb it. Yeah. And that's to your point. You've always been somebody that said you can always tell somebody's practice by when you see them hit the mat.
Yep, exactly.
And they're teachers. It's very funny because especially in New York, we could always look at somebody and be like, oh, this was your lineage, this was your teacher, and it's something that's really, I feel in many ways missing from the industry.
Yes.
Right.
But the homogenization of things is global. Like,
yes, absolutely.
Like you used to be able to look and go, that Australian Shepherd's from Alan McCorkle. That one is from Jennifer Cannon.
That's it.
Is a Te Amo dog. You used to know. Now you look at them like,
I don't know. It's got some elements of this. It's a free for all.
But that goes to this because there's so much out there.
There is
out there, and people find your person. Find your person.
Yes. And I think we're being overly stimulated by so much information to begin with, when it's really just get on and start doing the basics, go over the fundamentals. It doesn't matter what background you're in, everything comes back to the fundamentals.
I had this group from Korea, and they had, come over from when I had taught, and they came I do this thing called an intensive, and you're with me for 5 days or 6 days, and you get 3 lessons through that time period. And I show how your alignment changes, Oh,
for sure.
3 lessons. And they were like, we were so surprised. We thought that you would, we would be doing all of these, and you made us work on our 100. And I go, yeah, well, your 100 wasn't right. I mean, what happened? Their bodies changed.
Of course.
So people, they have this misconception with the work.
Yes.
How the work should be.
And what they're seeing, again, to your point, online, on social media. Right. And a lot of times that's not the work. And I've even had clients come to me and be like, I want to do this. And I was like, okay, well, this person's a dancer. I mean, God bless you. Yep. But that's not, and you don't want to hurt their feelings, but that's just not where we're at.
Well, this is not Cirque du Soleil.
Right? And you're not, yes, this is not.
Pilates is not so you can do tricks at a cocktail party.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's
Pilates,
not that.
so you know what? At 61 with AS and all the other, autoimmune things, you can still move and go dancing and have fun and
Yes,
life. That's what Pilates is for.
that is it. It's every day getting up and doing the things that you love to do and being present in your own life for yourself and your family and friends. And I think that's the work, right? Getting up and doing. Do you still do Pilates every day? I already know this answer.
I do. First of all, I do Pilates in everything I do.
Yes, that's awesome. Love
I
that.
do Pilates in everything I do. I work out like 2 or 3 times a week.
Yep.
I move every day.
Yes.
I move every day. I mean, I have 8 Australian Shepherds.
Yes, you're moving.
I'm moving every day. I'm running agility with them. I'm doing work at the barn. I'm teaching. So I move every day. I do my official workout 2 or 3 times a week.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Solid. And I know your workout isn't like most people's workout because I've seen it. So your workout, it's a very different level, my dear. Very, very different level. But speaking of your pups, we talked about this before, about the correlation between Pilates, Contrology, and training the dogs. Please go into that.
Well, no, but people don't so first of all, you have to set your dog up for success. The same
Sure.
clients. If you don't, then they don't know what they're doing, right? You're speaking another language, you're asking another, so they don't know what they're doing. So you have to build step by step their skills the same way with your clients. And when you set them up for success, let's think of it as building the 100. Before I'm going to ask you to really do the 100, I've got to give you the ability to lie flat. I have to teach you how to lift your head. I have to teach you how to hold the weight of your legs. I have to teach you how to pump your arms 6 to 8 inches over the height of your thighs. And I've got to teach you how to breathe. The same with the dogs. If I'm teaching weaves, I have to teach them to drive forward through 12 poles. You begin with 2 poles, then 4 poles, then 6 poles, then I have to bring it closer so that they learn to serpentine through. So everything you do is a gradual skill building process with positive. And I hate to say this word being positive, but I don't correct.
Right.
If the dog doesn't
explain, yes.
If the dog doesn't understand and can't do it, or the student can't do it, it's my lacking. I missed a step.
I agree.
Or I didn't teach them well. So I pushed them ahead too far, too fast.
Yes.
It is always my fault or responsibility.
Responsibility, yeah. I think that's very fair.
For them. So I feel this, and when I say positive, I look for a way in.
Yes.
I look for, the body will tell me where I am allowed to go. And once I'm invited there, I get invited to other places. Same with the dogs. They'll let me, oh, I understand this. Oh, very good. You understand that. Let's move. Oh,
let's add to yes. It. Yes. It is an invitation. And within that space that we're sharing with people, and they have their backgrounds and their life experiences. And we are very honored to be a part of that journey with them. And can you speak to when you're dealing with people, whether it be through trauma, accident, physical ailments, any of that, how you then, do you change your approach?
I teach the same. I teach the person in front of me.
Yes.
Now it depends on, so I'll give you an example. Years ago, I had a beautiful client, Tanya, and she called me and she had been in a car accident. And in the car accident, she had broken her legs. She had surgery, and during the surgery, her bowels fell asleep. And so they had to emergency abdominal surgery, took her out her app, they ended up, something had gone gangrene, so they had to cut it, put it back in. And it was like, it was nasty. Because imagine they're doing surgery on her legs.
Yes.
And now they've had to cut her belly open. And so then she was on crutches because she couldn't do a walker because she couldn't hold herself up with the stomach. So then she got all nerve damage from leaning into the crutches. So when I watched her get out of the car for her first lesson, and I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do? And I saw her shuffle up the driveway and walk sideways up the 3 stairs. And I go, oh, she can breathe.
Yes.
We're going to start with breathing. So I replaced all the mat exercises with breathing exercises that like the purest of pre-Pilates, with breathing exercises
That's great.
headed to those, for instance, with breathing in for 5 and out for 5. And then we did, breathing in 3 parts. So, the stomach, the chest, right. And so she would then inhale deeply, inhale, exhale, exhale, exhale for a rib articulation of the roll up,
Sure.
So I did all sorts of breathing. And as we're doing the breathing, she had no frontal connection whatsoever, because if you've ever had abdominal surgery, it's numb, but she had body. So I started working, I found what she could do. And I never referred to what she couldn't do, only what she could do. And she ended up building a beautiful practice. She went back to her home country, and every once in a while I get a note from her, of gratitude, continued with her practice when she went home. But never refer, I always stay with what you can do.
There's always something. There's always something.
Always something. And
yes,
that's the way we have to work. If you're mean to your client, or your client, let's say you're teaching footwork and your client doesn't get it, that's your problem.
That is. Yes.
You put them on the reformer too soon for their feet.
That's true. That's true. We've all been in that moment too. You're like, why aren't you getting this? And I was like, okay, it's not you. It's not you. And it is a humbling experience.
Even now, after 40 whatever years of teaching, I moved a little quick here. Let's go over to here.
Let's backtrack.
That's right. But I'm always very clear that it's me.
Yes. I think that's important.
It's not that, oh, you can't do this. I'm like, oh, I missed something. Come on. Mama missed something. Let's go over here.
That's important though, because that does teach them that they are going to trust you because you're willing to admit when you have missed something. That's huge.
We have to.
Yes, absolutely. We do. It's different than the days before where we just walked in like, okay. There was just like a barrage of just, why can't you do this? And the responsibility was on us as a new student.
Yes.
A new teacher.
It was a different time.
Different time.
I mean, you went to the studio and you're like, okay, do these exercises. And then, go over here, do this, whatever. And then you had to figure out, okay, maybe I should do my footwork over here. Maybe I should do my core work for my footwork today. Maybe I should, go over to the ladder barrel and do my short box there today, because I'm really not, I'm not really articulating back correctly.
Right.
So we had a lot of self-responsibility.
Yes. You had to figure it out on your own. Yes.
And great. That's great. But it's a different time.
It is.
And I would be hard pressed to find the people of today that would walk into a Pilates studio and you say, okay, here's your first lesson, like mine was, you get some things and then you're like, okay, remember this and come back in 2 days.
Best of luck.
Yes, exactly. You have to do this. And oh yeah, then you get that. And then they go, oh, see this exercise here? put that after this. Okay. And not even giving you a name of an exercise.
No, right.
So
If it's a picture, look at that one.
put
There
that
you go.
after this one. Okay. You know, or follow this person over here. I mean, how many times did I have to pay somebody or they had to learn by, you know, that way? So we don't, because my feeling is because of the era of personal trainers,
Yes.
it has changed the way people are, they are expected. I have so many philosophies on this. I also feel the fact that because we lack touch in the society,
Ah, yes.
that we crave touch, and that's
Yes.
something that Pilates gives us. We need that neurological connection with other beings, and because
Yes.
with being everything being FaceTime and texting and no, you know, not even picking up a phone to really call, and let alone having a dinner conversation. I
Yes.
feel that real human interaction is so lacking that the one-on-one is now actually a vital part of the evolution that we need for this work, because
Yes.
people don't have it in their lives.
No, they don't. And I think we've come back to where I think this is pandemic related, but before where we were, I just had this conversation with a client this morning that back in our day, we were so hands on. It was so much tactile feedback and it was just a natural thing. You weren't, oh, you weren't, there was none of that. The teacher was just there. Usually, what could be perceived today is inappropriate for sure, 100%. But yeah, just to be clear, but now we've gone so far the other way where people crave it and they don't understand and they do move differently and but their body craves that natural placing the hands on of here or just a light touch and the body responds to that.
They're hardwired.
Yes.
Over any verbal correction I ever got,
Oh,
I can feel the hands of my teacher.
yes.
To this
Yes.
day, I can feel when I go to do, I'm like, oh yeah.
Right. Right.
That elbow in my back when I was doing knee stretch,
Knee in your back, knees in your back.
pulling my elbows open, you know,
Right.
I mean, you know, lifting up on
Remember
my
the one that's like, ooh, and they're lifting like just
fist in
we
my
miss that.
stomach. Yeah, you know, but I can
Yes.
still feel that over any in and up. Lift your stomach in and up. Like a fist in your stomach is so much more effective.
It's gonna do it much quicker. For sure. For sure. Yes. Liability issues aside, it's gonna be amazing.
Say punch, you know.
What's that?
Say punch though, but you know,
Yes. But that is
yeah.
it is missing for sure, for sure. And what new projects do you have? What do we have to look forward to you doing in the near future? What is happening there? There's so much.
There's a lot happening. I'm really focusing on the Red Thread program, the
Yes.
advanced teacher training. You know, I take 10 students a year and they work with me 4 times a year. We have support throughout and really learn the method. The biggest thing is that I really want to continue to get people on the apparatus. When I do a workshop, they're very small for a reason. I mean, I have a minimum of 10 pieces of everything.
Yes.
Except for guillotine and Cadillac. I have 4 Cadillacs and 2 guillotines. But other than that, I have, you know, 12 reformers, 11 ladder, but like I have, because I want students on the apparatus moving.
Yes, they need to be. They need to be.
You know, like people look at my workshop, they go, oh, it's expensive. I go, not really. Because most workshops you sit and you watch somebody do it, or you listen to somebody teach, or you might,
Yes.
yeah.
You might get on. You might get on a piece.
You might.
But no.
You might.
Yeah, maybe.
No. You are either teaching, doing, or observing one, you know, and then moving on through the cycle. So sometimes
that's great.
Where there's 3 people on a piece of apparatus, so you can observe it, you can teach, you do it. And so, and
Yes.
I move you around so that you get, like, let's say we have 20 people. You get your hands on 20 different teachers. So you get the
It's
feedback
huge. Yes.
Get from your client, you touch your client, they're like, you're God, you do. But another teacher will be like, you know what? Can you put a little more pressure here? Can you do so? Yeah. So my next series that I'm doing, I just did last year, I did 3 barrels. So everybody got to do 3 barrels, and we
That's
went.
great.
This year we're focusing on the 3 chairs.
I
So
love
baby chair, your favorite, the high chair, your real favorite, the volet. The baby chair's my baby. I in 96 had the first one copied.
That's right. That's right.
So
Yes.
yeah, and I have that one here, that original one that was copied from Joe's here. So I really want people to understand the difference between them and to be able to utilize them to help build the skills of the mat.
That's fantastic. That is going to be good. And is it sold out yet? It is. Of course it is.
It is sold out. I have 3 of them scheduled. They are sold out. But if people want to do it, contact me, because I have a wait list already for another one. So I would be more than thrilled to workshop it.
That is fantastic. And just in starting to close, I want to be mindful of your time as well. Can you speak to it, if you believe it is our, for lack of a better term, duty to really preserve the integrity of the original, of Joe's system, of the original work? And how does one go about doing that?
Yes, it is our duty. I was actually, Ramona told me. I mean, I don't know if people know, but when the Authentic Pilates Guild was originally created, she was president, and she named me to be her vice president.
That's right. Yes.
And she told me, you need to show them what Pilates is. You need to show them what Pilates is. And as many times as I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall, and I do, and I get tired and frustrated, I just hear her words, and I feel that she probably felt the same way as I'm sure Lolita and Kathy and Lawrence did. And
thank you. Yes.
Mentors that came before, really, they knew this was their duty. It is our duty.
It is
life-changing.
It is. I agree with that.
The real work.
Yes.
Can change someone's life.
And we've seen that. We've seen that with the work that we do. And I think we've experienced that. So I think that is something that for a while there, when we were discussing the archival work and people were like, oh, we don't need that. It's just old, it's throwaway work. And I remember that felt heartbreaking, because this is something that we love so much to do. And even when Lawrence had said to me, you must show this work, you have to do this work. And I don't think at the time I had taken it very seriously. Like most of us didn't, right? When our teachers said, we're like, yeah, okay, it's great. But then the older you get, you realize that it changes people's lives. It really does. And we're doing a disservice not to do the work.
I agree. And, when it's funny, when you talk about archival, there are so many of those exercises that were taught to us, so they weren't archival to us.
They were not, right. They were just the work. And then I was like, what is all this stuff?
I don't, what do you mean? What?
Why is it? Okay, it's a new name, archival. Okay, cool.
I mean, listen, when I went to get certified, and I've been doing Pilates for a long time, I had Zoe, and I came back to get certified, and it was actually Bob who talked me into it. God bless him.
Yes.
And I remember poor Tone and Michael had to teach me the order, because when I trained, you had your workout.
That's it. You just did that. That we've discussed this. Like, when did this start happening? Like, so
what do you mean? And I'm like, and what happened to the mermaid? Where'd the mermaid go?
Right.
I go, and wait a second, wait, what? And so,
yes,
it changed, so you got to go back and learn, but that's, it was a funny time. But yes, it is our duty. I feel if you have something that can help humanity, that it is your duty and calling for some of us
Yes, it's a calling for sure.
I mean, trust me, there's so many times I'm like, I could just retire and play with my dogs.
Yes, 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 yes. Just be left alone to love them. Yes.
Exactly. Work out a Pilates my own and my own little cave, but you can't.
No, you can't hide. You can't hide when this is your calling and this is what you feel so passionate about and meant to do. And I know there was that period again where we went and we were openly sharing with everybody.
Yes.
And maybe you can speak to that, how we had that influx of, there was a period where we were all so interested in the work because we were doing the work. And then there became a period where there was the great divide, as I like to call it. And then it was separate camps, no commingling, none of that. And then there was a resurgence of the interest. And we were like, wait, we were talking about this, you guys. Like and they're like, well, we want it now. And then you're like, okay, cool. But so there becomes this, how do we move the work forward in a responsible way?
I think that we focus on the truth.
Yes.
We focus on the truth of the work, and we hopefully share it with those who are of like minds to take it forward to the next generation.
Yes.
And I think that's all we can do. I mean, I am of a believer, even after all things in my life sometimes point in the opposite direction, that the truth will prevail.
Yes.
And that
I believe that.
If we do this work and we share this work the way that we were taught, it will help humanity.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. And it is the truth.
Yeah.
That is it. And it is our responsibility to, even when we're tired, to get on the apparatus, to get on the equipment and to do our work, because I don't feel if it's in your body, we can properly teach it.
No, and you move away from if you don't have the truth in your body, you move away from the truth in your teaching.
Yes. And that does resonate with people.
Yeah.
If you don't really enjoy it or you're not doing the work, you can't teach it.
I mean, you see these famous Pilates people, and they will have an interview or a magazine thing or whatever, and they'll hire a strength coach. And they'll go to the gym. They won't go to the Pilates studio, and then they'll talk about Pilates. And you're like, you didn't do Pilates to get ready for this Pilates shoot.
Right.
I mean, you've seen it 100 times.
Yes. Yes.
It's so funny because all you need to do is really do Pilates. That's all you really need to do.
Yes. Yes. Oh, it is a perfect system in my mere opinion. It is perfect.
It really is for everyone.
Yes, for everybody. There's something that everybody can benefit from, and that's it. And you just have to be mindful and attentive to who is in front of you. And I think that's the crux of the work.
Yeah. Yeah. And
right?
you have to, like I said before, you have to choose your person.
For sure.
Your mind doesn't get clouded, and find the person who resonates with you and study under them.
Yes. A true apprenticeship, a real apprenticeship. Yes.
Study under them. I mean, you have so much information and so many years of training and teaching, people got to go to you. No, they do. They have to go to you. They have to train under you. They have to watch you actually teach, not like watch you teach, feel your hands, hear your words. Question.
Yes.
Yeah. Why did you go from there to there? Why did you do that on the pedal?
And have a real answer. I do try to always tell people this is what I'm seeing with you, so they don't doesn't become a haphazard.
No,
my
studio, and when I do these intensives where I take people for a week and we work.
Love this. Yes.
In my studio, any teacher that came to observe me, and my students do this, were allowed to ask me why I did something.
That's beautiful, because back in the day we weren't asking.
But it was great because it made me culpable.
Yes.
Culpable. It wasn't just because. No, I went here because they were not pushing through their heel and pulling back the pelvis and getting the up and over as they rolled up and down. So they needed to go the Cadillac and push with their feet and use that push through bar so that they had to do it, because the circular action, the push through bar, we have to be able to articulate why we do it.
That's the biggest thing too. Yes, that is a conversation that is important. And we all have to be responsible for that and make sure that the work we are backing up what we're saying for sure. And that the client understands why we are giving it them. So it is something that they can then keep in their body and they remember that feeling of what it felt like to articulate through the ribs, to articulate through the low back. So these are all really important things that we are passionate about.
Yes.
And that are needed. Very true. Well, Kathi, in closing, it is always first of all, such an honor to speak to you anytime. You have so much knowledge to give, and you've done so much again for our community, and just being so open and just being at the forefront of really preserving and integrating the work as it should be with your system, the red thread. So it's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time and your energy. And don't even think we're not going to do a part 2, because we probably will. I didn't even get to any of my questions. So this is so fun. This is wonderful. I just love it. I always love spending time with you any amount of time. And I hope to be coming to see you in studio.
I hope so. We'll have so much fun.
Love that. Absolutely. All right, my dear. Thank you. Where can people get a hold of you?
KathyRossNash.com. It's really difficult. It's my name.
That's really hard, but I will also put that in the link. All right, my dear. As always.
So much for including me.
Of course, anytime. Thank you again for your time. Have a great rest of your day. See you soon. Bye.